And yet, despite constitutional guarantees of a free press, the reactionary public that has been literally hoodwinked believes that the free press ought to somehow be regulated. And my answer is, until mega mergers occurred in broadcasting, it was regulated by competition. But now that mega mergers have allowed corporate media to dominate everything, you know, you enter this fascist kind of mind state where, you know, there's a great bumper sticker that says, I love my country, but that doesn't mean that I have to turn a blind eye to everything. I'm trying to remember exactly what the bumper sticker says.
No, but I understand what you mean. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, I mean, you know, discourse, discussion, presentation of facts. You know, that's this whole nonsense thing going on in the Senate about filibustering. It's like, hold on, wait a minute.
Where is the importance today? And it's sure as hell not in the stuff that we're being fed. Of course, we don't watch TV, but I hear, or on radio, or in the newspapers, or magazines.
Well, I've got a very simple way of looking at the world, and it's called effect. EFFECTS.
Okay. Energy,
food, finance, environment, communications, transportation, and shelter. That's where we ought to have our focus. We ought to be looking at effect.
Wow.
It's real simple.
Yeah.
I mean, I've written extensively about it on the peoplenomics side, because whenever you look at a business problem, I'm you know, very sensitive to the state of affairs in this country, because we're at a crossroads. It's almost like an opportunity to get straight with ourselves. On the one hand, we have the legitimate concerns of business to cut staff, try to make money, show a profit, and so forth. Yet, on the other hand, workers have a right to collect their pensions, which are being thrown away by the courts, and the obligations, and the people who got the $1 million bonuses get to walk with their bonuses. I don't see any of the fat cats that occupied the executive offices of United Airlines at the time the company was making money, giving back their personal bonuses and perks, while their fellow workers, the machinists, the stewardesses, and so forth, that built the friendly skies from the runway up, I don't see them giving back.
No.
Now, maybe I've missed something, but I don't see it.
No, and obviously, George, you haven't missed anything, and that's what's so sad, is that we continue, not we, the courts or whomever should be in charge of it,
well, it really boils down, Alex, it's a perversion of economic truth. And I'll tell you how it works. You've got multinational corporations.
Yeah.
And you've got New World Order organizations, and you can point at the Council on Foreign Relations, or you can point at Bilderberger, you can point at whoever you want.
Right.
You can point at Paul Wolfowitz, who got us into Iraq, and before we get out of Iraq, and before he finishes up what literally he started, he skates and goes to the World Bank so he can get his hands on the money supplies. What's going on in the world right now is that economics has been perverted by a group of what I unlovingly refer to as banksters, who do not adhere and will not allow the true valuation units that are out there by which people of all countries have forever measured their worth and stored their value. And those are the precious metals, the golds, the silvers, the platinums, the diamonds. In the diamonds, you've got cartels that won't let diamonds come onto the market at more than a controlled rate, where the profits are mostly gathered by a few very rich families in Europe. In the case of gold, you've got what is arguably manipulation and the restraint. By the way, the problems of AIG here are going to be very interesting, because the reports that circulate at GATA, GATA.org, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, Bill Murphy's group, strongly suggest that AIG may, and it's only a may, have been involved in some of the gold price suppression schemes. And so what's happened is the banksters, and I use that term advisedly, the banksters have gotten a hold of the printing press, and they have discovered that by screwing around with people's wallets, what's in your wallet, that they can make you work harder longer, and they can make bigger paper profits, and they in turn get to buy the gold and the silver and the Mercedes and the while you and I put in longer and longer hours for lower and lower wages.
Right.
And the average American businessman does not have the common sense to call bullcrap on it and say, no, we want an honest currency. Since the 1930s, the U.S. money supply has multiplied hundreds of times. The money supply is going up even today faster than the gross domestic product. There was a news release out this morning that said the gross domestic product was going up at an annual rate of 3.5%. Yet if you go over to the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal nor a reserve, but it's the banksters club, you'll find that the bankers have been allowing money to be created at a rate of 4.5%. So what's happening is we are in a world where we are creating more money than the goods and services increase would dictate. And what this means is inevitably, prices will go up. But that's the fundamental lie. Prices never go up. The purchasing power of your dollar is going down. And you go back and look at the record and see why John Kennedy was assassinated.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there's a very, very strong case to be made that Kennedy telling the Treasury to take back from the bankster cabal that is the non-Federal Reserve the power to print money so that the banksters didn't have total control of it. You'll find that executive order predated the assassination by not very much. And by the way, was never enacted. You knew that, right?
Oh, yeah, I knew that. I knew that very well.
I mean, and that's why it's kind of hard being the people's economist. You know, because that's why I get literally tens of thousands of people visiting the website. I mean, this week it'll be over 100,000 page views, and I'm not trying to be a William Goodwin and get myself shot. I'm just trying to hold up our beloved Constitution.
You betcha.
And with all respect to the men and women who serve the flag of this great nation, I have a brother-in-law who's a retired ranger who also went through Special Forces School and did 20 years in the military. And Bill Clinton screwed him out of a good pension that he's got wounds that, thanks very much, I don't want to have on my body from 2 combat tours in Nam and a lot of in-country time in South America and teaching jungle school. This man I am proud to have as my brother-in-law, and I am personally embarrassed. I am personally embarrassed at a very deep level that the people in Washington, D.C., who we elected to represent the interests of the people, are not representing the interests of the people, but are only going to the highest bidder, the biggest political action committee. And I know that the little Special Forces group up in Dallas doesn't have the same kind of lobbying power that the big biofarm companies have when they try to pass legislation.
Yep, absolutely.
How's that for radical?
Well, it's a start, George. It's a start. Now, I got to ask you though, if indeed all of us, and I include myself, can foresee something happening either within the next few days or the next month or so.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay, but what's going to happen? Wait a minute. What's going to happen? Because there's something coming on after that, like towards the end of the year.
Oh yeah. Well, that's going to be a mess. but you're either going to be around for it or you're not, according to your wife's cooking, and whether the universe decides to open up a new Grand Canyon where you're standing.
Now, you're saying that's the size of the event that could happen at the end of this year.
No, I'm saying that's the size of the event that can happen tomorrow morning at 4 a.m.
Oh, I see.
You know.
Okay, so that's the earliest, obviously, that we could begin to see some things happening.
Oh, as I say, I've been on pins and needles for a week. I mean, Cliff and I, Cliff builds hand-built boats. If you go to halfpasthuman.com,
Yeah.
he's got some pictures of a hand-built Umiak that he built. Beautiful boat. Why is a genius-level SQL guru and builder of web bots and amazing speed reading technology, why is a guy like that fixing diesel generators and getting a 24-foot floating escape pod ready?
Good question.
He is deeply personally concerned about getting his boat ready so he and the wife and the Bouviers can get in the boat and survive the whatever's coming.
Well,
he doesn't know what it is. Why do you think I've got a year of food and a mess of ammunition and so forth up at the ranch in Texas?
Yeah.
And I drive around with a tank of gas that's never more than 100 miles off the top of the tank,
right,
and a little manual pump so that I can give somebody $20 or $30 or maybe $50 and fill my gas tank up with this little manual liquid transfer pump, so that my wife and I can get back to Texas. And why is it that I just bought a new ICOM HF transceiver for the car so that I can listen to news, military, and other traffic all over the radio spectrum in the car while I'm going from point A to point B, point B being Burbank, point A being Texas, and that would be my destination when the what hits the fan. And that's why the web bots are so personally worthwhile to spend my time on. And the reason, in case you forget how Los Angeles is laid out, this town can be sealed off from the rest of the world by closing about a dozen roads.
Probably not even that many, George.
Well, you've got the 8, you've got the 10.
Yeah.
You've got what's the one that goes up to Barstow? You got 2 entrances to the Angeles National Forest, and you've got the 5. You've got the 405. No, actually, the 405 turns into the 5 up there at Grapevine, so you could close off that, and then you got the Pacific Coast Highway. Now, how do you get 25 million people out of Southern California, and how do you feed them?
There ain't no way.
Oh, really? That's
right.
why I'm living in a hotel, spending as little time in California as I can, but I've got business responsibilities. The interesting thing is when I tell my colleagues, let's review how things are going in 90 days. My colleagues, don't read my webpage. They're very rational people. They're status quo. Things are always going to be like they've always been, and that's that. And when I even mention to them that, oh, by the way, I've got this technology that looks in the future, and look at all the things we hit. We hit on Space Shuttle. We hit on the DC Sniper. We hit on 9/11. We hit on Anthrax attack. We hit on the American 587 crash. We hit on da-da-da, and I go through all these, the litany of close fits, and I say, okay, we're coming up to a big one, even bigger than maybe 9/11, and it's here, and it's going to be 2 cities and 13 million people, and we got all this centered activity up in the Northwest. Isn't that interesting? And if that really goes off, I turn on the HF radio in the car, and we're in Texas. I mean,